Today on our 2015 Ford C-Max, we're going to be installing Roadmaster's EZ2 base plate, part number 524432-1. And this is what your base plate's going to look like when it's fully installed. As you can see here, most of it's going to be hidden behind your fascia. There's going to be a little bit sticking out. However, these portions here, where they connect to your tow bar, are removable. Twist, and they slide out. And as you can see with both of them removed, you can barely see that the base plate's even installed. It's compatible with Roadmaster's quick disconnect and all of their tow bars. So this will allow you to use tow bars between your motorhome and your vehicle to pull it behind you. Your tow bar comes with a location to mount a 6-pole connector, which will allow you to install a braking system into your vehicle, so your vehicle will brake when you brake in your motorhome, as well as your necessary lighting, so all of your signals from your motorhome will be transferred back to your vehicle and people will know what's going on behind you. Next to the tow bar hookup, you'll find a location to attach your safety chains. To get our C-Max flat tow set up behind our motorhome, we use Roadmaster's EZ2 base plate kit, Roadmaster's Diode wiring kit, Roadmaster's Falcon 2 tow bars, SMIs Stay and Play Duo supplemental braking system, and Roadmaster's 76-inch single hook safety chains. We'll begin by removing our upper radiator cover. There's 8 pins that'll have to be removed, and you can do this with a flat bladed screwdriver or a trim panel remover tool. Pop up the center tab, and then you can release the whole pin. You release all these pins the same way. Once all your pins are removed, you can pull your grill forward, and there'll be some small tabs located on the back side. We'll have to release those to pop out the grill. This can be done by pushing up on the tab. You can use your flat bladed screwdriver again, or your trim panel remover tool, and we'll pop that out of there. Pull up on each tab and pull them out. You can see the lip located at the bottom. A flat bladed screwdriver can help getting those released. And we'll set this aside. Next we'll need to release the clips located on our fascia and release it from our upper grill. Push in on the tab and pull out on the fascia. Do that on both sides. Next we'll remove the 2 Torx bolts located in our Fender well using a T30 socket. And the 1 push pin located here just above those. Then to do the same thing on the other side. Remove the 3 plastic push pins located on each side of the vehicle underneath. We're now ready to remove the fascia. You'll want to reach back and just pull out on the fender until it releases, working your way up and down both sides. Then you'll want to release your other side as well. Underneath your headlight, you'll also find 2 tabs holding your fascia on. If you can't get that to release by pushing down on the tab, you can take a small flat bladed screwdriver, work it in there to just guide it out. Do that with both the tabs. Then just pull outward on your fascia, making sure that it releases on both sides. Then you want to release the electrical connectors on each side of your fog lights. And then you can set your fascia aside. Release the wiring harness from the bottom of your shock absorption pad. Use a flat bladed screwdriver to remove all the clips located along the bottom side. Then set your harness off to the side. We'll now need to cut off the shock absorption pad. Starting from here, we'll work our way over and cut it off just like that on each side. We'll use a cutoff wheel to trim along the marks that we just made. Once you've made those trims along both sides, that piece will just drop right down. You can pull it off. Next we'll need to cut along here, located on our driver's side, just below the panel we cut off, and cut this ear off so we can access the necessary bolts. We're then going to remove the bolt located behind the panel we just cut with an 8mm socket. And we'll set that aside. Next we'll pull out on our horn slightly and remove the 10mm head bolt located behind it. And this will allow us to remove our horns out of the way temporarily. Then to give yourself a little more room, we're going to take the whole assembly off, remove the tab there, press in on the horn connector, pull it off. Now we can tuck that wiring back easily and set our horn aside. We're then going to use a 1/2" drill bit to enlarge the existing holes in our subframe here. You'll repeat this with the same holes located on the other side as well. Next, we'll prepare our hardware to install our backing plate brackets. Put some Red Loctite on it, slide on a lock washer, followed by a flat washer. We're then going to slide this through the bottom hole on our support brace. This brace here is our passenger side, and we'll know this because these ears should be facing towards the outside of the vehicle. On the other side, we'll place on one of the small spacers. We're now ready to put this on the vehicle. We'll use one of the nutted backing plates without a handle, slide it up into our subframe, and take our assembly that we had just made and thread it into that nut plate. You just want to get it about hand tight for now to make it easier to install our upper hardware. We'll now need to get our spacer in place. To make this easier, we're going to slide it down between the brace that we just put on and our subframe. We're going to try and lower it down and put a bolt between it, and then use that bolt to line it up through the hole. Once you've got it lined up, go ahead and tighten down your lower bolt, and this will smash that spacer in place, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. We'll then assemble our bolt, flat washer, and lock washer again with the Red Loctite on it, and take one of the nutted backing plates with the handle on it, and go up behind, working it upward, and we'll install our hardware in there. Once you've got it started, you'll repeat this same process on the other side. Next, take your backing plates, and we're going to bend it as necessary to where it'll line up flush with our hole here. Once you've bent this one to where it's nice and flush, repeat the same process on the other side. We'll then prepare our hardware for our base plate upper mounts. Start with Red Loctite and then place on a lock washer. We're now prepared to install our base plate. This can be easier if you have an extra set of hands to help you hold it in place, but if not, you can just take one of the bolts and that'll help support this side. While you line up your other side, take the hardware you prepared, slide it through. Then once you get your bolt started on this side, we can go over and start our other side. And lastly, take your remaining hardware, put some Loctite on each of the bolts, slide the bolts through your base plate, and the subframe support brackets we installed earlier, slide on a lock washer on the other side, and tighten down a nut on it. You'll repeat this for the remaining 3 holes. Now tighten and torque all of your hardware to the specifications in your instructions. All of the hardware will torque using a 19mm socket and wrench. We can now reinstall our horn, plug the electrical connector back in, clip the wiring tab back on, and use the bolt with the 10mm head, and thread it back in. Tighten it back down and make sure it's not contacting your support here. You'll want to cut off the excess handle nut wire that you have. You can use a pair of side cutters to do this. You kind of wiggle it back and forth, it makes it easier to cut. We'll then run the wire back across that we had removed from our bumper support that we cut off, and we'll just zip tie that to our base plate here. We'll now need to trim our fascia, but before we do that, we're going to need to take the air duct off. There's black tabs located at both the top and bottom to allow you to release this. If you're having difficulties, you can use a small flat-bladed screwdriver. We can now set this aside as we won't be reinstalling it. We'll then trim along the yellow line that's marked out here. It'll be the same on both sides. Additionally, you'll need to make sure this tab here is removed, along with the piece that we're cutting out. And again, we're going to be using our cutting wheel to trim this out. Now that we've got these cut out, we can go ahead and line it up with the vehicle, make sure that our base plate's going to poke through properly, and then reinstall our fascia. Your fascia would just sit back on the way it came off. Now we are going to go ahead and leave ours off because we have several other flat toe components we're going to be installing, including a braking system and diode wiring. If you're going to be installing any other components, it is recommended that you leave the fascia off, as you'll likely need to reach wiring here in the front. That'll make that installation easier. If you're just installing your base plate, you can go ahead and reverse the removal procedure to get your fascia back on. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's EZ2 base plate on our 2015 Ford C-Max.